Please watch part 1 of this 2-part series before watching this video so that you can discover our story in the correct chronological order by clicking on the link above. The objective that we have been seeking up to this point is a comfortable, reliable alternative to the conventional travel trailer that would allow us to prepare and eat meals in a sheltered environment. We came to realize that a slide-in truck camper was our best option. We chose the Travel Lite 770R based on its advertised dry weight. If we packed next to nothing, we figured it would place our half-ton Ram right at its maximum capacity. We added a set of air springs within the stock coil springs to better balance the rearward weight and set them to the maximum pressure. The dealer mounted the camper using a set of Brophy bed mounts. He said that because of the light weight of the camper, they would be sufficient. We spent the night on the way back to Georgia at a North Carolina state park to get a feel for everything before getting too far from the dealer. I found that the tension pulling on the ends of the mounts tended to twist them out of alignment, so I remedied that situation by adding a connecting link to keep both mounts centered with neutral tension. This worked remarkably well, as time would tell. I started upgrades by adding an LED flat-screen TV on a pivoting swivel mount. There wasn't much storage in the unit, so we added baskets here and there and decided that we would just have to adjust to the east-west bed orientation. From years of experience, I knew that 90-degree backrests were never comfortable, so I cut pieces of plywood the size of the cushions and attached them together with hinges so that the back could move depending on how far the base was pulled away from the wall. They were infinitely adjustable. Unfortunately, I never felt comfortable driving the camper. I removed all the upgrades and restored it back to the exact condition as the day we bought it. I then weighed it on a CAT scale and found it to be much heavier than advertised. I talked to Dave at D&H RV and he agreed to buy back the unit for the full purchase price. I can't say enough about what a great dealer they are. The unit had a porta potty and shower, but no black or gray tanks. We had always loved our Range Runner, as it was the perfect living room and bedroom, and all we really needed was a place to cook and eat our meals in a protected environment. So we bought a Travel Lite Razor FK, which is the full kitchen model. It was just light enough for our half-ton Ram, and in combination with the Range Runner would provide everything we were looking for, within our budget, that is. I immediately set to work to remedy its shortcomings, starting with the somewhat compromised dinette concept. As you can see, it wasn't at all practical, so I tried to see what I could remedy with materials that I had on hand already. I made a reclined backrest that sat just in front of all the obtrusive window hardware. I then hodgepodged some seat cushions, a lounge chair cushion, along with one of the stock cushions to form a slightly more reasonable alternative. I also added a larger tabletop to accommodate our two 17-inch laptops as a workstation. I then created some wooden inserts for the stove and sink to add counter space which had been lacking. But the final deal breaker was when I discovered that after days of running the enclosed AC, not a drop of condensate could be seen outside the camper. I talked to Travelite, who told me that the condensate collects in a pan at the bottom and then evaporates. I asked them what if it collects at a faster rate than it can evaporate. They couldn't answer my question, and I have to believe that the only place it could go was down between the wall sections, so we bailed on that concept. Since we had found Hercules, our Ram 2500, since buying the Razor, we decided to trade it back in and get a real full-size truck camper from D&H RV. Pierre was a beautiful specimen with light-grained wood interior with an open and spacious feeling. However, the rear tie-down points were part of the jack brackets, and as such, the angle to the brophy mount didn't hold down the rear of the camper over large bumps and separation joints. So I designed a hitch-mounted bar and added a third set of tie-downs to hold the rear of the camper down to the bed. I then added a simple bracket to carry a 2-gallon gas can for generator fuel. The main feature of the 80RB for us was the couch dinette concept. The back had a slight recline angle that made it more comfortable than conventional dinette seating. The step leading to the cab over was almost 23 inches tall, and I worried about Yoly stepping down in the dark at night and falling. So I designed and built a mid-step to make cab over access much easier and safer. It had to be open in the front for converter access. It made a huge difference. I started making small modifications after that, starting with the hanging closet and later adding motion-sensitive LED lighting. In order to keep weight down in this model, AML RV chose not to include anything in the bathroom other than a toilet and shower head. There was no sink, medicine cabinet, or storage of any kind.
New era.
I discovered that I liked cooking in a truck camper, as everything you need is less than a step away. We started getting acclimated by camping in some local Georgia state parks that fall, and finally setting off in the spring to check out the last remaining items off our bucket list. We stopped along the way to Western Canada at Pikes Peak and Glacier National Park.
Drying our dishes so we can leave.
Yeah, I want to leave.
Put them away
I want
now.
to go to the hot springs today. We're going to take a ferry.
We're
We're going to take a ferry boat ride and go to hot springs. It's going to be a fun day, boys and girls.
Yeah.
The last time I visited Western Canada, it was 1970, and I was in my 1965 Volkswagen factory camper. Although it had changed considerably, it was even more beautiful than I remembered, especially since Yoly was seeing it for the first time. We fell in love with Pierre in spite of some minor shortcomings. In the effort to save weight, the fresh water tank had been reduced to 15 gallons, and the water heater to 4 gallons, which totaled a meager 19 gallons. The gray tank was a very modest 6 gallons. On the way back from Canada, we checked off another bucket list item, Beartooth Parkway, providing the northeast entrance to Yellowstone National Park. It truly is one of the most beautiful highways in the country. After completing this almost 9,000-mile journey, we felt as if we had accomplished everything that we had set out to do. We had also burned through most of our retirement travel budget, considering all the campers bought and miles traveled. We found that with the adventurer and truck payments, we couldn't afford such extensive journeys anymore, and also didn't feel the need for such anymore. With some sadness, we decided to sell Pierre that winter and reduce our debt to the one truck payment. Goodbye, Pierre! But we still had a desire to travel and thought to limit it to shorter distances over fewer weeks. We discovered the remarkable little Eureka truck camper, a bare-bones utilitarian concept that reminded us of our Range Runner. We were able to purchase it with the equity that came out of selling Pierre, so we could still travel a bit and still only have the one truck payment. It was a simple 6-foot wide cabin with almost nothing but a sink and a 6-gallon water jug. We did opt for the Dandy microwave and AC. I began to modify it immediately to suit our needs. The 1500-watt inverter runs off the 100 amp-hour AGM battery, which is charged by the truck's alternator while driving and by the converter when plugged into shore power or our Honda EU2000. It very easily runs our 80-watt compressor fridge while driving. 3.2 cubic foot compressor fridge was set below the medium setting and still came down to proper temperatures within 30 minutes of turning it on. Highest priority was comfortable seating, and the 8-inch thick seat cushion and high 4-inch thick reclining back cushion offers lots of comfort and support. Small coffee table is perfect for morning coffee without taking up too much time. The 25-inch Pile LED TV works great for movies, TV, and video games. The main dinette table is easily removable and stores out of the way. When installed, it slides in and out nicely and can slide lengthwise by disengaging the slide for easy couch access. Has a 5.3 gallon black tank and can be easily moved outside to our privy tent when camping or used inside when traveling. I added a 12-volt pressurized water system including an outdoor shower. We camped in Nate throughout the fall and found him to be perfectly comfortable and efficient. He seemed to have everything we needed, including a propane camp stove as well as an 1800-watt induction cooktop. The couch was super comfy, as was the short queen mattress. Then we decided that he was ready to winter in Florida for a couple of months. The somewhat tight confines of Nate's interior hadn't been a problem since we had been spending so much time outside the camper during the day. Unfortunately, that winter saw the polar vortex extend down into Florida, and we were forced to spend more time than we anticipated inside the small camper due to freezing and uncomfortably cold temperatures. It reminded us of the tab in that we had to sacrifice the dinette in order to pull out and deploy the bed. It was back to that either-or compromise. For extended travel, we decided that Nate might not be the final answer. One of my favorite things about Nate was the narrow width, which made getting into small spaces easier, as well as getting out of small spaces easier. The right side was up against a rock wall, and if it had been a full-width camper, the entire left side would have been sheared off. We decided to sell Nate, put the money aside and save enough to maybe one day be able to afford a used, full-size truck camper. Once again, with sadness in our hearts, we said goodbye to another friend. It wasn't long after that we stumbled upon Serenity. She had been sitting on a dealer lot for 14 months and was priced so attractively that it indeed was an answer to a prayer. We loved the fact that the floor plan was nearly identical to Pierre's. Everything about her was the same, except the things that were different were just better. Considering that she cost $9,000 less than the Adventurer, she had a larger freshwater tank, 25 gallons compared to 15. A larger hot water tank, 6 gallons compared to 4, and a larger gray tank as well. She also had a much nicer appointed bathroom with a medicine cabinet, a sink, and more storage. There was also more storage in the cabin as well. But the biggest delight was that the same couch dinette configuration was more reclined and much more comfortable. She was also the first camper that we had ever owned where absolutely everything worked as it should. There was nothing to fix. The only thing left for me to do was to install a 32-inch big screen front TV and Bluetooth home theater speakers.
Come a little closer. I don't bite. Without that control, they will exhaust the food supply in a matter of months.
Food supply? They're human beings.
Who are you to question 800,000 years?
Almost immediately, we set off for the higher altitudes of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado in an unsuccessful attempt to avoid the oppressive summer heat and humidity of Georgia. We set off on this 6,800-mile journey with 3 prime directives. Number 1 was to camp exclusively at a minimum of 9,000 feet with no upper limit. Number 2 was to find free, dispersed, and inexpensive national forest campgrounds. Number 3 was to travel with no schedule, itinerary, or set plan.
I figure what you're doing. I need your phone so I can download the video you shot.
I'm trying to reconcile things right
Okay.
here.
We spent the next 3 weeks enjoying the natural beauty of Colorado and completing our objectives. Serenity was a sheer delight and far exceeded our expectations. Naturally, we love everything about her, and we are very grateful to have found, after 10 years, the perfect combination that fulfills our travel aspirations. We expect years of future adventures together. One heater, yeah? One hot, one warm.